Perfect. How are you?
Fine, fine. You?
I'm doing good. You got a nice office over there.
Yeah, like home office. You're in Kuala Lumpur right now?
Yeah, I'm in KL, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Welcome and thank you so much for taking out time. Uh, it is pleasure to have another guest on board in our podcast. So, Sami, tell me about yourself first. This is you, a nice picture, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself. Who you are, how you came into marketing, where you are living, because my other panelists introduced themselves. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, actually, I was born and raised in Switzerland. And when it comes like to my career path, I was doing like an apprenticeship. And I was always like sort of in tech. So I did an apprenticeship in Switzerland as an automation engineer. So it's like more like logical programming. Like with logic building blocks and everything in the industry, and especially in Basel in Switzerland, which was like in pharma. So yeah, I was doing that for 4 years. After that, I studied, and that was also like actually in programming. So it was more focused on UI and UX design as well. So more also on the front end side of things. And yeah, during my studies, I actually got like pretty interested in marketing for myself. And I actually never studied marketing, but yeah, I came like directly into it through a course actually. So yeah, did that course. And since then, like it was like 6 years ago. Since then, I'm actually in marketing. At first, we did like some lead gen and more like for local businesses, and I got like really interested in the whole customer journey, especially like in the points of like data tracking and how to analyze marketing. That led me actually to e-commerce, and we are doing that now since like 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to come on that one as well, right? Because I know you have you and with your brother, right? You have opened this whole company. Tell us about your company as well. So our audience, have some background of you, like how you guys progress, how it whole thing started. You just mentioned your university education, this and that,
Yeah.
but how sitting in Switzerland, right? How this idea came in, and you really thought, okay, let's do that. Tell us about your company, yeah.
Yeah, at first it was more like that spark where like I saw that opportunity where I think like I got like really interested in marketing in general. So I thought like why not opening up a company? So I basically opened up like a small company, not in like a limited, but on my own name in Switzerland back then. It was like 6 years ago. And now already like 3 years from now, um, back like 3 years ago, we actually decided to leave Switzerland. So then I shifted the whole company to Estonia, where it is at the moment. So our setup is basically that we have the company in Estonia, and me myself, I'm living in Bali, but also like a few months a year I'm like out of Bali. So yeah, that's when it like comes to the marketing agency, and we are basically like a small boutique marketing agency, a few clients, and we are actually focusing like strongly on those clients. And also in terms of structures, it's not like we are fully remote, so no offices at all. And also we have not like typical employees, but we are running them on a contractor basis. So all our employees are basically freelancers with their own small companies, mostly like one-man shows. And yeah, we just have those contracts and do like some media production in Germany, for example. And most of the ads we are running in Switzerland and as well as a few in the US at the moment.
Okay, awesome.
Event marketing, we have actually one partner in KL. Like they're doing like heavily on the event marketing and everything. Like it's someone we know, he's specializing in that, but we ourselves we are doing like pure online. So most of the things we are doing actually ourselves is like analyzing our marketing activities and doing the media buying. So we are like buying media spots, especially on socials, mainly on like Facebook and in its network, like Instagram, Facebook, but as well now on like Pinterest, TikTok. We're starting with Twitter as well. So all like that social environment, we are buying media spots.
Okay, awesome. So just for audience, right? Sami is also a co-author with my book, actually. Right,
Exactly.
thanks for that. Thanks for
Yeah,
that.
thank you too.
Yeah. So coming towards the data, right? I can see Jafri Saab is there, Jina Saab is
Thank
there.
you.
Media and digital media.
First
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
please.
like to congratulate Sami for being a co-author of your book, I Am Data. Because Sami, I have been to that book, and not all the book. I think up till now I've almost finished the half book whenever I get a chance. Because I find that starting from what is data, you guys have tried very well of taking it in a structured way towards the data analytics and big data side. Should understand the core values of data, the core importance of data. I think there's a wonderful effort.
So how do you see, because Gen AI is just new, and I'm sure when you started your journey, Gen AI was not there, right? And all
Yeah,
these
true.
AI things were not there. How do you think data analytics, and AI is playing a new part in your journey?
I think like what we see at first when it came up, I was actually like, oh, like I mean, I'm still young, but I was like, my thoughts were like, whoa, can I even catch up with that like rapid pace in development of AI and everything? But for us, it was like more natural thing, like in a lot of like ad copies and everything, where we used to write it on our own. Now we are asking like a lot of things, ChatGPT, like write us like 10 examples and then we are looking into it. And I think like now you still like we're like it still needs human intervention and like the like quality assurance and everything in marketing. Like you can't run it purely on AI. But we are definitely using it to make our work processes like much faster. And also sort of like if you're thinking of it at scale, of course also we need less employees to run the same things. And I think it's getting like more and more into that direction where you need like a high level worker who knows how to use the prompts and everything. But yeah, you can get like work much faster done in certain like specific areas. And yeah, also the quality is like much better because yeah, we are much faster in searching throughout the internet than, for example, Googling it.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's a very key point. That is where I wanted to bring you actually, right? So when you talk about Gen AI and all these terms, as you correctly mentioned, it cannot be human-less, right? So how do you see the importance of this AI with respect to the time saving,
Yeah,
cost saving, and performance improvement? How do you say that?
I think at the moment like like it can help us. Like it's more like of a tool for me.
Hmm.
Like the same way we are using like project management software, and we still have to manage it. We still have to manage like AI. So we are at the moment we are using it as a tool. But of course, when we are looking into like how the platforms actually like Facebook and everything, like the owners of those networks, how they're using AI, that is like shifting the whole process. Because like let me give an example. Like for example, 2 or 3 years ago, Facebook marketing, like media buying is like especially to like how where do we actually buy the media spots and how are we targeting them. It was a lot about like doing marketing research, looking like which audiences does Facebook have, how are we targeting it, like clustering different audiences to look like what works better and what not. And if you look at that engine, what it was like 3 years ago, and now what we are doing now is Facebook is so good at like interpreting like our creatives that, for example, Facebook sees, okay, what are we showing in our creatives, what kind of keywords, like what is the voice actor talking, for example, what kind of product are we showing. Like for example, we are showing a dog, and Facebook knows, okay, I have an audience of dog owners, and I will like show them the ads, what wasn't possible like 3 or 4 years ago. And that thing is like shifting as well. So actually the whole industry is shifting. but as well like how we are using AI by ourselves.
So as you correctly mentioned, right, when we do Google, right, we all know that a lot of junk will come in, right? So
True.
when we are doing Googling, we have the opportunity, rather, our expectation is that we have to find the right content to do our marketing. But when you go towards Gen AI, especially ChatGPT, right? So whatever you write, you don't see multiple options. You simply see an output. So
Yeah, true.
how you are managing the or guaranteeing or evaluating the quality of the output coming out? How do you measure that one? Okay, this is what I should be doing, and
Yeah.
this is the right data for me.
I think it's also based on like experience at the end of the day. Like we are running ads and we are seeing like if you run 100 ads, which kind of ads are performing, which not, like which kind of messagings are performing. And I think at the end, like you have to have an employee or someone who is like controlling that whole system and evaluates is that data good or is it bad, which I'm getting from the AI. Because the AI is giving you something and then like someone who doesn't have the experience, they will look at it like, okay, let's run it as it is.
Yeah.
And someone else would look at it and say, hey, maybe ChatGPT go more in that direction, or think of it like, oh, at the moment you're targeting that kind of audience. Maybe give me like five more audiences which I could target and rephrase the whole thing into like that audience bucket, for example. Things like that. I think it's the same thing when it comes to coding. I think it's like you're saying to ChatGPT, "Hey, give me a code," and someone who can code, they will like directly spot where it's wrong and where it's right.
Hmm.
And
So when you do marketing, do you face customers? Do you have these kind of requirements that bring this piece into your marketing as well? But let me add something more on top of it. When we are using it live, how do you see generating data and taking actions on it?
um, like for me, it's more like a lot of times in the markets you're seeing like for example AI is new and also like especially like when you look at investors in Kuala Lumpur for example, it's like the VCs are switching from crypto and then they're going to AI and now it's like AI and VR and there are like certain topics like popping up like new things and I think at the end of the day it's how it like I'm always asking myself, is the market even or like the market participants, are they even ready already to like adopt those technologies? And how can we actually, at the end of the day, how can we add value to those markets? Because like only using, for example, AI or VR or like if you're opening up a startup based around I think at the end you still have to have like something, like the value must be still here, even you using AI and you're only using AI as a tool actually.
Actually, that's again a good point, right? I want to bring that discussion towards your NFT project. I do remember that you spent a lot of time onto it and you did marketing. With your experience, what do you want to share that people who expose themselves out of the box, and what do you think? Because when you did that, at that time, Gen AI and ChatGPT was not there.
Yeah.
Do you think this would have helped you in converting your that project into more productive venture?
Mm, I think in my opinion, not really.
Yeah.
Because it was more like I will not go like very deep into it,
Hmm.
but what we were actually trying is to get like sort of crowdfunding instead to go to institutional investors, and then using the blockchain technology like the tokens to integrate in an application of ours, which
Hmm.
would be like completely on Web two. Um, and I think for us it was more like in which stage is the market, how are like how active are the people involved in it and how willing are they actually to purchase those tokens into like a use case which was like pretty complex for the market we were in,
Hmm.
because mostly it was more around, hey, we are tokenizing some art pieces or
Hmm.
like very simple projects. And then we came to the market and we had like a white paper of 20, 30 pages, which are like describing how we are integrating that token into like a normal application and everything. Um, I think we would have done better when the market is further ahead. I think like if we would launch that project, for example, in 10 years from now or 20 years from now, probably the market would be in that stage, which isn't the case at the moment.
Now, turn this discussion toward risks. Because when you go towards real-time marketing and real-time all those kind of stuff, right? And when you especially use AI for your marketing, there are chances or risk of failure or
Yeah.
risk of doing something which you were never planned to do it, right?
Yeah.
Unexpectedly happens. What are the risks you foresee when uh, newbies or other people start using Gen AI and AI for marketing and all these kind of stuff? Which kind of risk you can foresee?
I think it's always, I think it's in general, not even like looking at AI, because AI is just providing us the input which we are giving into that like marketing machine.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just like modifying the input actually, what we are giving into it. And I think when it comes to like media buying, especially and running marketing online, I think it's like very important to like have a hypothesis. Like for example, hey, I'm giving input A, and then I will get the data after a time span. And after I get that data, I can evaluate if that like that input A was actually effective or not. And I think we have to be like very clear what we are running and how we are evaluating those data points, because like if you're giving like input, like for example, if you're running 10 campaigns on like 5 different channels and we are launching them tomorrow, then it can be that we have revenue and profit uplift in comparison to year data, for example, of last year at the same month. But at the end, you can't evaluate like which campaign or which channel is actually impacting positively or negatively. So what we are doing is always like running isolated tests, which means we are giving like a clear input. We are doing like, for example, marketing effort A, and then we're running it for a certain time span, and then we know exactly if we get a revenue uplift, that's like what we have done was actually positively impacting our revenues and profits, or it's negatively impacting. But I think it's like very important to know what you're doing and how we are impacting the marketing, and also have a plan about it, and not just like run marketing and see like what sticks and whatnot.
Okay, okay. Before I jump into my next question, we have a question. Yeah, Jina sir.
Yes, we have a GI in place. So, as a data scientist, data engineer, you see more challenges or more opportunities?
That's a really good question. Um, I think if if we know how to interpret the data and what we are actually gathering and what we are looking at and what we are filtering, we have like a lot of opportunities in marketing. I think it can get like, I think you have more disadvantages if you have someone who doesn't know like which data points to collect, which data points to generate. And I think it depends like um, who you're letting to do like the tasks in marketing. So it like highly depends who is actually working with data, because we have so much data, and I think it's really important to know like which data are we actually looking at, which are we filtering, and what is the data point in itself saying to us, and how can we act on it. And I think like we can't see like as a black or white. It's more like if we know how to use the data, and there are like great opportunities. But if we don't, it's actually more like of a disadvantage.
Right. Thank you. Just one supplementary question, just one quick one.
Yeah, please,
You
please.
know, a couple of years ago, when the IT in place, IT is everywhere. So you have
Data was always there, right? Technology was not there, right? Now technology, and actually, if I becomes devil's advocate, technology was there, but it was very expensive. Now, due to the commodity hardware and open source world, technology has become cheaper and available to rest of the world to use it. So that will add my next question as well. It will supplement that one. Once we have this technology, Sami, you are getting humongous data, too much of data, right?
Yeah, true.
What are the dangers involved in that?
I think back to the first question. I think at the moment it's like still very, very important to look at our marketing efficiency like ratio and to see like how much are we actually spending towards every channel that we have today. And we have like much, much more marketing channels than like before. And like a lot of platforms coming up, like different kind of marketing formats and everything. Like it's getting like the landscape is getting much more complex. Where we had like before it was just let's run some like out of home ads or like later on TV and then see how like how are we progressing over the month or over the time span we are running that campaign. And now with the data, like where we are running the ads, like on out of home ads, it's like still like we have more technical abilities, but it's still like more in that direction. Where if you compare that to the marketing channels online, there it's getting like much more complex.
So just to add it here, right? To bring this to the next level, right? As data keeps growing like anything, about metadata, I want to come towards metadata, right? As which is data about data, right?
Yeah.
What is the importance of metadata in your marketing? Because as data keeps growing, I'm
Yeah.
sure you will not have time, you will not have resources, and I would say investment and budget as well to build a big solution to dig out content from it, right? So you
Yeah.
have must be depending on the metadata as well, right? The data about data. So do you normally use metadata for your marketing planning and strategizing your content?
For us, it's more the data which are like we are getting through running the ads. Like if you're running the ads on different kind of platforms, we are getting like everything. But of course, the platforms they have like a lot of data points, also metadata about different kind of user and the behavior and everything.
Mm.
Like how can we match different kind of user journeys? How can we make it like cookie less, and how can we like transfer those data points to like from server to server of online stores and everything. um and yeah, like I think the development of that is more on the like on the side of Facebook and Instagram and everything, and we are using more the data to analyze like what works and what not, and we are actually getting the data from Facebook and Instagram and everything.
Okay, okay. So you have APIs or you manually download or you go onto their portal and see the analytics?
We actually see it in our like we have an ads manager, and there we are like controlling the like where we are placing the ads and everything. But of course, like when it comes to tracking, we have API integrations. So in certain kind of online stores, it's like the implementation is actually fully on the backend. So we have certain kind of online stores. We have like zero browser side integrations, and we are tracking everything on the server side. And yeah, it depends also on the size of the online stores and also how deep they're looking into like speed optimizations and like data accuracy and everything and how big the store is. Like generally, if you look at startups like e-commerce stores that are smaller, they go like with standard integrations. But we also have customers where they have like setups. They're working like 1 year to restructure the setup when it
Mm.
comes like to data tracking and implementation and everything. So yeah,
Mm.
it highly depends like with which customer you're working, and yeah, how deep they're actually looking into that topic of which data are we using, how like how are we transferring the data points? How are we like ensuring like a high match rate or high data accuracy and everything?
Okay, I have one more question that just popped up, right? Uh, in our term, we call it batch processing and real-time processing, right? Real streaming.
Yeah.
So normally in your marketing, uh, repeating ads and marketing campaigns and the response on real-time marketing, how do you see what is the impact and what do you think like real-time marketing? Do you expect people to come back to you response? Is there a difference between these kind of marketing which you expect, hey, I do marketing, the response will come very quickly? Because sometimes there's a time to market concern as well from the
Yeah.
customer, right? How do you tackle that?
I think it like highly depends on the use case you're working with and how
Mhm.
long the customer journeys are. Like for example, more at the beginning of my journey, we ran ads, for example, for real estate sector in Switzerland. And there, of course, it was like it takes such a long time to see like if the marketing is working or not, and also like a much higher budget because we have like high ticket sizes, high conversion, like conversion values, and there, for example, we see the impact like let's say 2 or 3 months later down the line, depending on the budget we are investing.
Mm.
But when it comes, for example, to e-commerce, and when we have like average order values of a customer of let's say like 50 to 150 US dollars, which are like very small, of course it optimizes day by day. And I can say to you, if I'm starting a campaign, I can say if it's working or not, depending on the industry, in like 2 or 3 days. And then we know actually like, is it working? Can we optimize it? And like which things do we have to do to optimize it? Or do we leave it and test like some other products, for example?
Okay. So yeah, Jina Saab have another question. Yes, Jina
Yeah.
Saab.
When we're talking about the metadata, so my question is, the standardization of metadata. It should be some standardized, or it could be any format. It won't affect in your world when you're doing the processing.
Oh, actually, like we are not doing the processing by ourselves. So, like when it comes to processing, they have like like the encrypting and everything. It runs through Facebook, so I can't say like a lot about it. I just know, like, for example, if you're getting like, for example, audiences or email lists and everything from our customers, we are not getting them like in a text form or in a CSV, but we are getting them like fully hashed and we can integrate it like into our marketing. So, like, in terms of like privacy and everything, Facebook has built everything around that. But in terms of like the processing and how we're sending the data and everything, like I'm not that involved into it that I can say anything about it.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you, thank you.
yeah, so one more question, right? Based on your experience, because Sami, I know personally that you guys have really grown up your business from scratch, right? And become a, hopefully you will become a multi-millionaire. I wish your NFT would have been a hit and I'll be a part of that. But it did not happen. But so what do you recommend for newbies who is coming into this domain with respect to earning? Like if people come into your shoe, with your experience, do you think uh, how to say uh, charging customer should be based on prepaid or postpaid or a percentage of whoever you're working with? It's a
I think there are like
very
different
basic
models.
question. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are different models like how to charge a customer. Um, and I think like if you're experienced, I think like the best way to charge a customer and to be actually fully integrated in his process is like purely performance oriented. So even like we are running some ads with our own budget, where we are only getting paid per conversion that we are bringing in based on like certain kind of tracking. So there it's more the question like in which market are you in and what are you actually providing to the market. And I would like look at it more from like that startup lens, where with the NFT project and everything, it was more that angle we took on, like for as a tech startup, like what are we providing to the market? How can we prove like product market fit? How can we like build a minimal viable product and everything? And it's the same with like in the marketing space and with agencies. It's rarely done actually. Like mostly it's hey, I have an idea, I want to provide some services to the market, and let's try that niche or that niche or that niche. But I think actually the way to go and to be also like more competitive in the market is like bring something to the market that is unique, and where like in the first point where sales is much easier towards the customer. Like for example, I'm going to the customer and say to him, hey, you're only paying for the results that I'm generating, for example. It's much easier to get like your foot into the door and work with that customer because like they have basically zero risk. It's like just one method, um, and I think it's more about like how can we make sales easier, and how is actually what we are selling, how is that effective enough?
So how do you take this decision? Which customer to select to give them postpaid service rather than prepaid?
It depends. Like if we tested the market already. So if we have a customer and we know exactly, hey, we are running it in the same market. Let's say we are running it in Switzerland, and we are running like a very high budget on, for example, gadgets at the moment. So if I know, hey, those gadgets are working like really well, and it's also in Switzerland, we take on another client that is also in the gadget industry. They're not competing with each other, but they are like in a similar space. It's mostly then what we are doing when we are like, for example, we have one campaign at the moment that we are running in the US, and there we go out to the customer and say, hey, I think this and this and this product could work well in the US. Do you want to give us the budget? We will run that budget for free, and after that budget is run, then we can say, hey, is it working? Are we going into that game with our own budget? Or is it not working? But initially, we don't have any risk. So, like the initial risk, that's all like one way of doing it. And I actually like to do it in that way, that we're having like sort of a like minimal viable product or like a test run, which is funded by the customer. And if that test run runs well, we can scale the whole thing with our own budget. And if it's not running well, we like switch products, or we say just to the customer, hey, your product is not working well. Maybe you can make this and this and this improvement. Or if not, yeah, it's like go to the next customer actually.
Because a lot of people ask me these questions, right? Because marketing, although GenAI has made it a little bit easier, but I normally say it's a content writing what they have made it easier. So strategy still need to be
Yeah.
yours. Planning still need to be yours.
Yeah, true, 100%. And I think also it comes also with experience and what you see in the market, like how you're approaching things. Because like how I approach, for example, the agency, or how I would approach like a product launch would be different like 5 years ago to now, for example. And then you're also like observing startups, how they're launching products. And I think like my approach would always be, no matter in which industry, it's like how can I get my product to the market as fast as possible? Like the minimal viable product, like how fast can I get it to the market? That I can like if I prove it, that based on that product, I can also scale the product and make it bigger. And I was always take that approach, and we are actually also taking that approach with like one other project at the moment, where it's more about like lead generation for gyms in Switzerland at the moment, where we're also working with health insurances, and there it's the same thing. Like we built a small web page. That was done like in 1 week. We have the whole concept, we have a pitch deck, and then we are like testing the market. And if it's working with like a very little budget, then okay, we can scale it. If not, then maybe we can tweak it, or if we don't have an option for tweaking it, then we'll just leave it. Highly depends on like what the customer is looking for. Like in general, if you're taking on a customer, it's like we are having like a flat fee monthly of 2,000 for managing like the whole media buying, 2,000 US dollars. And then when we are getting higher with the marketing budget, the more we spend actually, the more we charge. But we are always like, my philosophy behind it is always like, okay, if a customer is open to do it in another way, I'm like open to listen and also open to like restructure it in that way that fits more to the customer or to like to the business model. And it can even go like as far into that direction where a customer comes to me and says, hey, look, I have like very strong data points on like I'm spending on Facebook, I'm spending, let's say, 100,000 US dollars a month. I'm spending it exactly on that product with those ads. Do you want to hop on that train and go in with your own budget? And if I see those data points and they're like they're proven, it's everything stable, like then I'm also happy to like put my dollars on the line. And yeah, if the payouts are right and everything, and if I can help them to scale. So it like highly depends in e-commerce. It highly depends like what the customer is looking for, how big the customer is, how much data do they have, and yeah.
So do you have, see, because when you talk about e-commerce, are you only doing marketing for e-commerce businesses as well or non-e-commerce businesses as well? I heard you said marketing. What about, as we are from the data world, what about those companies who are working in data?
Yeah.
There are system integrators, SIs, there are vendors, there are principal companies like Oracle, IBM.
Actually, when it's out of my network, I'm also always like open to listen, but mostly it's like it's more like of a consulting role where I'm saying them, hey, actually it doesn't make that much sense that we are running the ads, or we will set up the ads and then you can run it by yourself because like the nature of it, it's like much less complex, and in most cases you don't need us as a team to analyze the data. But when it comes like to media production, for example, like it highly depends on like on yeah which use case is actually coming to me, and yeah, like where I think it makes sense to work together or not. But when it comes like to outbound marketing, we are like purely focused on e-commerce actually.
Okay, because I can give you an example, right? As I have a couple of friends, right, who end up creating websites or mobile apps, and they are unable to make it success. So my always say to them is, yes, product is important, services are important, but for me, marketing is top. Until this, your marketing slash sales people in big organization is, if those are not in place, right, success of the product is a question mark.
Yeah,
What do you think about it?
I think it depends like on the product market fit. So if you have like a strong demand in the market and like the people are actually already like craving for that solution in their life, which is the product, then you can come and like with like not a lot of marketing effort, you can make it a success actually.
Mm-mm-mm.
Um, but if you have a product that has no product market fit, or like the messaging is completely off, and you would have a market but you're failing to reach it, then of course it's not working. And I think it comes down to two things, like the product you're building and do you find an audience which is actually willing to pay for that product.
Do
Yeah,
you help people to evaluate whether their product can be successful or not?
like mostly we are not involved. Like there was one use case lately where we were involved in hey, I'm a completely new e-commerce founder and I tested several products. Can you look into it and maybe you can find new products? but mostly it's like they're coming with a certain product, and like in the startup stage, they're not profitable yet,
Hmm.
and we are trying to help them to actually frame the product in the right way to generate more sales or to optimize the store that the people are buying more, for example, in one session.
Hmm.
Things like that. It's more optimizing after they found the product already. So like we have very, very rarely where we are actually looking into like the whole market and tell the customers, hey, you could test those products, or that's like mostly they come with an online store already.
Hmm.
So yeah, then it's more about like optimizing. In our case, more optimizing how we are like how we are targeting the market and how we are framing the whole product, and also pricing strategies and everything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, so we have a time check. We have 9 minutes to go. So let me come towards marketing channels, right? As you mentioned, you're working on Facebook.
yeah,
So there is Amazon, there is YouTube, Facebook. You have mentioned there are many TikTok, Instagram. There are many channels.
yeah.
With your experience, is it worth going into all channels a better way or target at one channel?
I would differentiate the channels into two buckets actually. Like do I have a product or a service where I'm like advertising it more with a like push marketing approach or with a pull marketing approach? So is it, for example, a service or a product, like for example, um, let's say I don't know how to call it in English, the man that comes, like if you're going to your home and you can't open the door. So you're calling someone like, hey, I have a problem. Please, someone should come over. So that is like a typical in marketing. It's like that typical pull marketing approach where someone goes to Google and types in like handyman, hey, I can't open my door, and then the ads are coming. Or for example, real estate. Hey, I want to sell my house, and it's like a certain point in life, and I'm searching for a realtor, good realtor around me, something like that. So we have that like pull marketing approach. The push marketing approach is more like someone is scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, and then they see a product and then they or a service, and they think like, hey, that could be actually like really useful. Um, and mostly it's like, in which bucket are you falling in with your business, like with your business model? And then I would take that channel for testing it. Like for example, I have a push marketing, um, like kind of business model. Like for example, I'm selling gadgets. Then let's test it out on Facebook and Instagram, because there you're getting like very fast feedback. Is it working? What is working, etc. But later on, if like one channel, like if you're starting single channel, if one channel is established, then I would certainly go like into different channels, because like with different customers and different channels, and even if you have like a typical pull marketing or push marketing use case or business model, there are still customers on Facebook, for example, for a pull marketing kind of use case, or also for a push marketing use case or business model. There are also customers on Google who are searching for, hey, I need a new iPhone case or whatever.
Okay, okay. So I would throw last question to you. Actually, we are almost there to the end of the session, right? Your advice for newbies to come into this field. Is it worth coming into it? Is already gone? You have already covered everything. What's your advice for newbies?
I think you have to be like curious about it, and also able to accept and adapt to like fast changes, because the marketing, especially like when it comes to media buying and buying ad spaces, you have like a lot of competition in the market when you want to be a service provider. And the far like how fast the market is changing, like that is like actually like really crazy how fast it's changing.
Hmm.
So if you're if you think like, hey, that would be really cool, I think it's like really interesting, and I want to stick to it and see how the market is like in 2 or 3 years and how fast the things are changing, then definitely like I think it's like, of course, like I'm a little bit biased and I love the whole topic. So I would say like of course like it's like definitely worth it. Um, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, what kind of person are you, and do you want to go like very deep into data? Do you want to go in that e-commerce field, for example, or are you more the type of guy which, let's say, hey, I want to help like some smaller startups or more like no non-e-commerce players which have like point of sales, which are selling products physically, where it's less technical, I would say, but more about like creativity, messaging, and everything. Like, of course, e-commerce is that as well, but on top, like that whole data topic comes into play.
Yeah, so thanks in the end that you have brought up that data is very important, right? That's my field, right?
Yeah, it
Without
is 100%.
so it's so important that even if you are not into data, but you need to understand data. Without understanding data, as you correctly mentioned, dynamics of everything is changing so much, so fast. Last time we used to plan ROI for 8 years, then it comes
Yeah,
to 5 years, then it comes to 3 years, and now people are thinking about ROI break even within a year because
within a day, actually.
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So it's so important to be on top of data. I think in coming years, everybody will have a small API integration with everything to be
True.
on top of it, right? They might have their own chat GPT version running on their mobile, and they will be integration with relevant news channels or marketing channels just to get whatever they want, right? That's
I,
what I foresee actually.
I think it also depends like up to which scale do you want to build your business. I think if you have like a brick and mortar store and just run some ads to bring like more people into your shop, then hey, you don't have to look like very deep into data points and like how can we match certain audiences with our point of sales and which kind of like parameters are we using, everything that like around that. You don't have to go like very deep into it.
Mm.
But if you're running marketing spends of let's say like 500,000 or 1 million a month, if it goes into that scale, uh, then it's like pretty important to know like how can we actually optimize that, because with like shift of budget allocation of like let's say even a few percents, yeah, it's a huge amount of money and the impact of it is like much bigger than with like a small business.
Yeah.
So data gets much more important as well, than bigger you get, in my opinion.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much, Sami, for taking out time